Greetings and welcome to episode 200 and crap, I don't have the document open in front of me. 17 of the Words About Gamescast, a weekly video game podcast for words about games. I'm your host, Amy K. Alexander, and my microphone is not in front of my face, and I'm joined this week by Hard Tuner himself, the glorious one, Mr. Daffyd Moody. How you doing? I'm gonna just move this.
Feeling pretty hot right now, not
What
in a sexy way, just because of how sweaty it is right now.
Yeah, it's very sweaty, yeah. I'm quite glad because we started like 10 minutes late because of reasons, which is fine.
My end.
Which is fine. And it's good because what's happened is it's let me cool off a bit to the point where I'm not noticeably sweaty. Like, if we'd have sat down at the time we had agreed upon, like, I would have been glistening. Whereas now it's like, okay, it's calmed down a little bit and I'm not glistening anymore and I look like everything is fine. Everything is fine.
But I have got some new stuff for you, Amy.
Ooh.
I have Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh. Have you started
I have Ghost of Tsushima.
Have you started them?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No, not yet.
They're
fine. Installed. I'm going to start them next week. Well, I'm going to start Final Fantasy VII next week.
I was going to say, I don't recommend doing both at once.
Well, thankfully, I've got another game that I can flick between with F1, so I can do that. So I can just I'm sick of being Cloud right now with his silly spiky hair and his tooly, overly big sword and everything.
Yo, careful.
I like that. Trying to try and get past Lewis Hamilton and flip him off while I'm passing him.
Yeah, that's like me in Apex, where it's like it's a good palate cleanser. And like when no one's around, I play Neon Abyss. Weirdly, like I've found that to be quite a nice palate cleanser. Between games.
Yeah, I want to try that. I've got it installed, so.
The surprise Game Pass reveal, and there's something to add to your whole epically amazing stance about Game Pass that we did on last week's podcast, where it's like I wasn't going to play that game, and then they launched it into Game Pass, and I was like, cool, I'll give it a try, and it's one of my. It was one. I'd say maybe not one of my like top 5 games of the year, but it's up there. Like I really enjoyed it.
Go to a game right now. It entertains you, keeps you distracted, and that's what you want these days. So.
Well, I want to finish it. I've got I think 2 bosses left. So I beat the first boss when I did the video. I beat the second boss when I streamed it. And I think I beat 2 more. 3 more. I don't know. It's been a week, I think, since I played it. But anyway. Speaking of Game Pass, and your amazing post-show discussion last week. I think we're in for another long one looking at the news this week as well. Someone posted a few days ago on Facebook, and I happened to notice. I don't go on Facebook on purpose like anymore these days, but it was the number one thing at the top of like my Facebook timeline because it doesn't put everything in order. And it says any Xbox recommendations, and it's a friend of mine who games but doesn't game like Wii game, right? And I scrolled through the comments looking for one particular thing, Moody. I was looking for one particular recommendation, and you know what that recommendation is. And then, yep, there it is, like a few comments down. Just get Game Pass. To which the reply was, oh, I love the look of that. Yeah, I think I'll do that. It's like, just get Game Pass. That's literally my go-to recommendation. If someone's like, I've got an Xbox, what game should I get? Game Pass.
They've got a good quality of games. They've got 8, they've got 9 to 10 out of 10 games. They've got a good flurry of 7 out of 10 games and everything. They've got a good lot. They've got a ton of games, like 100 plus games. Can't fault this.
Yeah.
Can't fault the system, man. Can't fault.
No, and then games leave, but then new games get added.
I know.
And if you get Ultimate, you get games for gold, which I mean, you as you'll learn later, you might not necessarily want this month, but hey, whatever. Whatever floats your boat. This isn't a Game Pass podcast yet. This is the Words About Gamescast, where every week we discuss what's going on in video games, the games industry. Moody's done. Moody's gone. He's finished. And gaming culture over the past 7 days. In this week's episode, we discuss Halo Infinite's multiplayer being free to play. I'm going to time this. Ex-Ubisoft shithead Serge Haskell reportedly cancelling a King Arthur game. Where the heck Call of Duty is, and more. Then we'll go over all the new game announcements, release dates, and delays that happened over the past week. Give you a content drop where we recommend some articles you should read and some videos you should watch. Tell you what games are coming out over the next 7 days before playing OpenCritic Head-To-Head, where we guess the OpenCritic average of one upcoming game. And as always, we'll wrap the show up with a post-show discussion to chat about whatever we feel like. Video games or not video games. And I got something related to that sentence to talk about after the podcast. But for now, all I'll tell you is timestamps are in the description below the video on YouTube, so you can watch specific parts of this podcast. They're all clearly labeled, so you know what they all are. You can skip around, watch the whole podcast backwards. We don't really mind. We're just happy you are here. But in the meantime, Moody, shall we get into the news?
We shall.
The news of the week. This one blew my fucking mind in half. Because I missed the leak and just went straight to the confirmation. Because as I said, I was playing Dungeons and Dragons when the leaks were happening. Logged off, looked at my phone, and was like, oh shit. Microsoft confirms Halo Infinite multiplayer will be free to play and up to 120 frames per second. This is from Tom Warren over at The Verge, who writes, Halo Infinite's multiplayer mod will be free to play and support up to 120 frames per second, Microsoft has announced. The news comes after a leak from Smith's Toys Superstores, which briefly posted details about Halo Infinite multiplayer on a promotional page this week, before quickly removing them once the internet discovered the references. Quote, the legendary Halo series returns with the most expansive Master Chief campaign yet, and a groundbreaking free-to-play multiplayer experience. Enjoy up to 120 frames per second and greatly reduce load times, creating seamless gameplay with Xbox Series X. End quote. Clobrel, an Xbox leaker that accurately revealed previous Halo Infinite details, backed up the claims that the multiplayer mode will be free to play. The leaker also claims the arena mode will aim for up to 120 FPS, which Microsoft has also confirmed, and that multiplayer Halo Infinite will include a battle pass system and new customization options, which the company has not confirmed. Halo Infinite multiplayer is gonna be free, Moody. It's gonna be free for everyone. Game Pass, not Game Pass. Boom, it's just there. You want it? You want it? You want it? You got it.
Talking.
You got it. I was gonna pass that over. Crap, I don't know. Halo's cool though, ain't it? What I've been dropped. Damn it! Hot tuna, no. Yeah, Halo Infinite's multiplayer is gonna be free. That's cool. Anything else I wanted to say on the subject was going to be a back and forth between myself and my co-host, but my co-host is a chair. It's a very nice chair. Looks very comfortable. Now it's a pair of Amazon boxes. Like the timing of which he stood up, where it was like, I'm gonna pass it over to Moody. Wait, Moody's a chair now.
Chair, take over.
I just started describing your chair, so we're good. This is a banger of an episode.
Some of my birthday gifts are here.
Halo Infinite multiplayer is free. Discuss.
Xbox, I think this is them setting up. They're gonna make a multiplayer free for all for Xbox all in general.
That's the rumor. Well, because they're putting gold with the rumor is they're putting gold with Game Pass Ultimate, and not separate, so you can't buy it separate, which you currently still can. And if they do that, then their multiplayer stuff will just be free. Which means gold will just be free games, I guess.
Well, it's one. It's going to be free. It's free on PC for anybody. So they can't. So I think they kind of have to do this type of thing personally.
Yeah, with a parity. I suppose if they got parity with PC.
Yeah. I'll say this right now. PlayStation, you need to go back to this as well. You had it for the PlayStation 3 era. I think you need to do this as well, personally, but that's neither here or there. This is about Xbox. I think this is a fantastic idea for Xbox. Again, going back to the thing what we talked about, they just showing how accessible they are. They're not putting any walls in front of you to try and punch through, or have to pay walls to get through for a lot of the things. Just so I think this is fantastic. If you love the Halo multiplayer, which I know you and me do,
I do.
it's your bread and butter.
I'm so in. We were just talking about it last week where I was like, can't wait to see the multiplayer reveal. And you know what, Moody? You know what? I still haven't seen the multiplayer reveal. We've got a whole other thing where we get to see what this multiplayer actually looks like. But, like, I'm already excited because I'm like, cool, it's going to be free. Don't you buy Halo Infinite, Moody? You just download the multiplayer. We'll play it. The fuck?
Fantastic. That's great.
Where do we live in? What world do we live in? Like, I don't understand. Like, I mean, I get it. Microsoft's been doing this whole accessibility thing in terms of, like, getting as many people to play their games on whatever device that they want. So, I mean, I get where they're coming from when they say Halo is for everyone. Here's the multiplayer for free. But at the same time, it is just kind of like my brain is just malfunctioning trying to process the fact that Halo Infinite's multiplayer will be completely free.
So, here's a question for you then. As we know, this is going to be free and everything like that, and we still know that they'll still be throwing Halo Infinite, the story, out there to buy if you want it, if you didn't want to have Game Pass. How much do you think Halo Infinite's going to be? With the multiplayer dubbed as free, do you think they lower the price?
It depends.
$60 to maybe down a little bit?
It depends how much content the game launches with. Because remember, Halo Infinite's campaign, like Halo Infinite, the game, like not the multiplayer, the game itself, like they were talking about it being the platform for Halo for the next 10 years. So, I don't know, in truth, because one, I don't care. I have Game Pass, it's going to cost me nothing because I've already paid for Game Pass. And, like, it's going to be like hopefully constantly updating with content over the years. And it depends, like, we've seen the gameplay, but we don't know how the campaign is structured. We know that you spend a few hours getting to the Halo ring, and then once you get to the Halo ring, it's open-ended. Like, the Halo ring is this big world where you can tackle objectives in any order, but we still don't know what that looks like. Like, is the entire rest of the game going to take place in this open environment? I doubt it. Like, you'll be doing stuff on that open world environment, like we saw when he was blowing up the anti-aircraft guns, but you'll also be going through doing levels, like I would imagine, like traditionally, and then there'll be some kind of climactic event, which is the end of the game. But I imagine you'll also still be able to play on in that single player. Like right now, I'm just looking forward to seeing more of whatever they decide to show us next. Multiplayer, single player, whatever. In August, which it is August. So, no, it is August.
Yes, it is August. Yes.
I had this thing on the podcast we did 2 days ago. I was like, it's this month. It's not this month. It's still July. Oh, okay. But
You got that episode out in July still.
I still get it out in July. Thank you. It was a few hours, but yeah, it was good. But so it's like going out in the multiplayer. It's like I'm curious to know what the multiplayer looks like. I've seen a bunch of people go, it's going to be a battle royale because it's going to be free. That'd be a terrible idea. Like, it'd be great for fans of battle royale. It'd be terrible for fans of Halo multiplayer who want Halo multiplayer and not Apex Legends with a Master Chief skin. You know what I mean? Like, have a battle royale mode set on a Halo ring, and you do a really good job with that. But like, hopefully there will also be Team Slayer and whatever else that they put in, because that's the draw of Halo multiplayer. It's like, do both, but it's not going to be just a battle royale. And if it is, I'll be devastated.
No, yeah, this is them basically planting their flag, basically saying every online multiplayer type of match type of thing you can do, I think they're going to have in this eventually. You're going to have your Battle Royale mode. I think that's guaranteed. They say they're not doing it, or they've come out and said or something, but that's, I think, is going to happen eventually. You're going to have your capture your flag thing. your Warzone thing, your Horde mode thing, your everything. I think you're gonna have it all.
Yeah,
That's
because
what they're going for. Infinite. The word infinite is very specific. They're very specific when it comes to that word.
you're not wrong, actually.
Um,
Yeah, I didn't think of that. But yeah, like there's such a diversity of game types in throughout Halo's history. Where it's like you get your standard stuff like Team Slayer, big team battles, capture the flag, assault, which is the one where you got to get the bomb and you got to blow up the enemy base. You get the weird, quirky stuff like Griffball, which is one of my favorite things to just do for a laugh for 20 minutes. You got I can't remember what the specific thing was called, but it was zombie mode. Where you had to try and like you were the zombie trying to infect all the players before the time ran out. And then yeah, maybe some experimentation, and maybe there is a battle royale component involved in it. But yeah, the word infinite, I didn't even think about it. The word infinite, yeah, it's very specific. It's doing some lifting, and that makes complete sense. But I'm still trying to wrap my head around that headline.
Yeah, it's fantastic though. That's the thing about it. Again, like we've already said, they're trying to be the most accessible company for you, ladies and gentlemen. Even though for some weird reason, like I asked this question to our friends over at My Xbox and Me for their podcast. For some weird reason, and what we've already talked about, Xbox are getting mixed reactions right now, which is really weird to me. I just don't understand it. I just cannot fathom why is this not objectively this whole thing. What Xbox are doing is fantastic. I can and everything. I can appreciate some of the games don't work. I even admit when we talked about the Xbox events, not all the games spoke to me, but it's not about that. It's not. It's about they've spoke to everybody for me on that, and it's just really, really weird that PlayStation, yes, they're doing a focus where they're saying that they believe in generations. They're going to continue this till whenever they decide they don't believe it anymore. Basically, it's when the money stops coming in for them and everything.
Yeah, if everybody like gets on board with Xbox and sort of leaves PlayStation behind a bit, then they might have a change of heart because that's what PlayStation do. But like, yeah, sure, right now they're killing it. Like, there's no denying that PlayStation are absolutely fucking killing it with the way that they're doing things. So why would they want to change up too much? Whereas Xbox needed to change up after this generation because they weren't killing it, and now, at least in theory, even though some of this is in practice, things like Game Pass and whatnot, but in theory, they are killing it right now. Like the last, like they were killing it at the start of the year. They had an iffy May, which unfortunately led to an iffy June because they didn't really have anything going on after the May event, and now they're back and they're killing it again with everything that they're saying. And like this in 2020, like at the beginning of this generation, well, not at the beginning because I wasn't podcasting them, but like towards the beginning end of this generation when we were doing podcasts, like I can remember being critical of a lot of stuff Xbox was doing, or a lot of stuff they were lacking. Specifically things like first-party development studios and first-party games, were the two big ones I remember like talking about a lot on podcasts. But now, in the entire of 2020, I've spent so much time and words and energy like praising everything Microsoft does and says, like, and it's such a great feeling because I'm doing that and at the same time being like, yo, Last of Us Part 2 is fucking amazing, yo, Xbox is fucking amazing, yo, Switch, where's your games at? We'll probably get to that at some point in the future, but like Microsoft have been killing it and it's fantastic to see, and just be positive.
They aren't getting the praise they deserve. They're getting mixed reactions. I still don't get that to you, ladies and gentlemen. I can see, if you're not an Xbox guy, you're not an Xbox guy, that's fine. But like I said, objectively, they're killing it. They're giving you everything you wanted. We didn't have the things what they're giving you when we were kids. We didn't have a Game Pass or anything like that. We didn't have that type of thing, and they're giving you it.
I think a good thing to do, a good rule of thumb to do with this is because we linked a thing in the content drop last week. Which was the GamesIndustry.biz article about the console is dead. Like, it's over. It's done. No one's fighting the same fight anymore. Everyone's charged off in different directions. And it doesn't matter anymore, but there are people who it matters to. because there always will be. Like, people want their thing to be objectively the best, even though that's impossible in the next generation, because PS5, Xbox Series X, and Nintendo, whatever the fuck comes after Switch, are all doing completely different things, and that's fantastic. But there are people who will just be like, well, PlayStation's better. Well, Xbox is better. Just ignore them. Like, because at the end of the day, now, like, I could sit here and just be excited about Xbox. And if someone comes at me and goes, but PlayStation's got better exclusives, I'll just be like, yeah, I've got a PlayStation. And right now, I'm not talking about PlayStation. I'm talking about the fact that I'm talking about the fact that anyone can play Halo if they have a fucking Xbox. It doesn't even matter if they have money or not.
Or if they just have the cloud.
Yeah.
That's how crazy it is. Yeah, that's the thing about it. Yeah. You're spot on, yeah. I really need to stop freaking going, oh, for God's sake, you whiny little babies in your corner, bugger off.
Oh, I mean, for all, like, go for it. Like, I regularly do it on this very podcast. Over and over again. Just, I try not to let it get in my head of being like, yo, what the fuck? Like, have the discussion and be like, why is this a thing? Like, why aren't people just like, cool, this is cool? Like, you don't like Halo. You've never played Halo. But you can still sit in your very comfortable looking chair and be like, yo, this is awesome. Like,
if only they were common-centered people like you and me around the world might be a lot more simpler.
I think, I mean, the problem is, because of the nature of our jobs, doing this podcast and this channel and the streaming and stuff, we see a lot more of the negativity than we would otherwise, which means we're centered on it a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, it's not prevailing. It's not. People shouted at us a lot. Well, I shouted at me a lot, but there's a lot more people who are just happy. Like, that's kind of what it comes down to. It's like, some people just let themselves be happy, and some people just have to force themselves to be angry all the time. Like, people who are giving Xbox the mixed reaction, it's like, if Xbox isn't your kind of platform, that's fine. Say it once and move on. But if you constantly have to shout at people that your platform is better because it has Last of Us and Ghosts of Tsushima and Final Fantasy VII and Dreams and whatever else you're like shouting about, it's like but if you're shouting about it constantly, it's like, dude, person, just enjoy the thing. Like, you're saying you've got all these things that you love, just go away and enjoy them and stop trying to tear other people down for their enjoyment of things. Like, I used to give Keith a lot of shit because I didn't like Dragon Age 2 very much. And I still do give him a bit of shit because he calls it underrated, even though it's got a really high Metascore and more people like it than dislike it. But because I hammered him so much, he thinks everybody hates it, whereas it was just me. But, like, I stopped doing that when I realized that's kind of a shitty thing to do because he loves this game.
Yeah.
And I don't. And that's fine that I don't love the game. But I shouldn't hammer him about it because he does love it. It's a thing he loves. That's awesome. Like, that he loves this thing. And I needed, like, it was a growing moment for me where it's like, I need to be a better person about this. And I'll still give him the odd bit of shit every now and again in jest and in fun, but I used to be a bit serious about it too. And it's like, now I just kind of go, okay, I need to take a step down from this.
Yeah.
And it's a similar situation here with PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo.
Even though it's a completely different situation with me and Amy, though, because when me and Amy see each other again, she's probably going to punch me for all the times I say.
Gonna punch him in the face.
That
That wasn't anything to do with that.
Using those guns.
I've got them. I've got those guns. Yeah, manual labor. Although estrogen has killed these guns considerably, they're still a bit.
You're spot on, though. Yeah, you are spot on. Like, it's just sometimes it's just like, you guys are not making any sense. You know, you're not making any sense whatsoever. Objectively, subjectively, none of it. You guys are making any sense. But
it's just a case of people need to let people enjoy things. Like, I love Xbox.
Save my phone.
Like, I love Xbox. I love the platform. I love the ecosystem. I love the online experience. I love some of their games and franchises. And I'm going to keep loving them, and I don't give a fuck what you say. There's my message to you. Yeah. Speaking of sticking my fingers up at stuff, should we move on to the next news story?
Segue ever. That might be the perfect segue.
Ex-Ubisoft creative boss canned Dragon Age devs King Arthur game. This is from Emma Kent over at Eurogamer, who writes, Ubisoft has been shaken by a wave of sexual abuse and harassment allegations in recent weeks, leading to the resignation of several high-profile executives and a pledge from boss Yves Guillemot to reform Ubisoft's processes and editorial board. One of the executives who has since resigned, Chief Creative Officer Serge Haskell, has been accused of enabling and facilitating a culture of toxicity and misogyny, along with blocking plans for a solo female protagonist in the Assassin's Creed series. Yet beyond the allegations of misogyny, it seems Haskell has stifled creativity in other ways, as a new report claims he cancelled a potential King Arthur game led by Dragon Age creative director Mike Laidlaw. According to the report from Bloomberg, Laidlaw was hired by Ubisoft in 2018 to work on an RPG codenamed Avalon. Made by a team at Assassin's Creed Odyssey studio Ubisoft Quebec, it was intended to be a big-budget adventure about King Arthur and his round table, focused on telling their stories in a fantasy world full of knights and legends. Those who worked on the project felt it had been progressing well, and Avalon would have featured a cooperative multiplayer world similar to Capcom's Monster Hunter series. Yet Laidlaw quit in July 2019, and the project was cancelled due to interference of Haskell. The exec allegedly disliked the fantasy genre and demanded the game had to be better than Tolkien. Those who worked on the project told Bloomberg they were shocked the project stalled because Haskell didn't like the fantasy setting, and attempts to switch the theme to a Greek mythology or sci-fi setting were all shot down. While Haskell has been credited for big franchises such as Far Cry and Assassin's Creed, even though he didn't create any of them, last year's Ubisoft's The Division 2 and Ghost Recon Breakpoint both failed to achieve commercial success. As a result of this, Ubisoft reorganized its creative process, but two of the people given promotions, Maxime Belland and Tommy Francois, have both been investigated by the company following harassment allegations, and Belland has since resigned. Reports continue to emerge detailing allegations of sexual harassment and HR failures at Ubisoft. For now, Guillemot has temporarily taken on the role of Chief Creative Officer, and when asked if he knew about the sexual harassment at Ubisoft, claimed that those around him, quote, betrayed the trust he placed in them, end quote. As for Haskell, one can only wonder what sort of games we could have seen from Ubisoft without his influence. Oh, I don't know, maybe different types of games instead of the same game every 6 months? King Arthur's cool, though. Like, I like King Arthur. Like, not enough to be, like, proper, like, into it and, like, reading everything about it, but those 2 seasons of Stargate SG-1 were fun. Which is where a lot of my knowledge of King Arthur comes from.
I'm just gonna take a quote from one of my favorite corporate guys out there right now, Bob Iger from Disney. Going off from his book, he was taught to be bold, take risks. And this guy literally shows he couldn't be bold and he couldn't take risks. He found a niche and he saw it was bringing in money, and he literally thought, that's what the people want. Let's just keep throwing out the same thing every time. That's why, right? Like when we talked about the Ubisoft Forward event, yeah, we said, oh, that's the Far Cry 6 trailer. It was a good trailer. We don't deny that.
It was a great intro on Netflix series.
We're not excited for it, but it's going to be a Far Cry game.
I've played this game. Since 2012, I have played this game 4 times.
Yeah, and it's the same freaking thing. They've locked themselves in. That's why I've said already that we're not going to see any true changes or games or anything like that for at least 3 years, maybe more, depending on really how fast they can get them turned around. And they don't want to get them out. They should not try and get them out as fast as possible. They want to take the time and everything. I hope with things changing that they will hopefully maybe try and bring this franchise back, because the King Arthur thing I think is a fantastic mythos. The mythos you could create from that is fantastic. It's sexy as hell. And when you hear the thing when it says that they in one of the parts, a Capcom's Monster Hunter series open world type of thing. Oh, that was fantastic. Go on, continue, Amy, please.
No, there's some great stuff in here, and it's just like, but for me, the main problem with it being cancelled is it sounded different. Like, and if Haskaway had let this fucking game go, I'm sure it would have
I'm going to
been
be 2 minutes in me. I'm sorry.
hammered into. I've got to try and carry a podcast for 2 minutes. It was gonna be hammered into a Ubisoft game. Like what? It's like when I saw Gods and Monsters at E3 last year. Revealed. I'm pretty sure it was last year when Gods and Monsters was revealed. Like it looked cool and it looked different and it had a different art style and it was set in a fantasy world instead of whatever the fuck all their other games are doing. And but there was the part of me at the back of my brain that was just like, hey, this this game is probably just going to be hammered into a Ubisoft game. And that's fine. Like, it's a formula that clearly had been working for them up until last year when the Division 2 and the other game, Ghost Recon, kind of flopped because, hey, I mean, for starters, freaking Ghost Recon Breakpoint was basically the same fucking game as the Division 2, except it wasn't a multiplayer game. But then it's like, yeah, it's like the setting's really cool, but it's also really unique in terms of like how many King Arthur games do you know? There's a game coming out called Pendragon, which is a King Arthur game, and then it's like, well, there's not really any other King Arthur games out there, so it's not just necessarily where it's like, yeah, King Arthur, because you know what, I can take a leave of King Arthur mythology. It's cool when I see it, but I'm not a history nerd and much, so it's kind of like, whatever. But yeah, it is a case of it would have been different from the Vikings, which we've seen before in video games a lot. It was in For Honor. There were Vikings in For Honor, which was also a Ubisoft game. Would have been different from Samurai, which we have a lot of samurai games. Zombies, we have a lot of zombie games. We have Far Cry. We've had the same game since 2012. Far Cry 3 was amazing. Far Cry 4 was the same again. Far Cry 5 was the same again. Far Cry Blood Dragon. Now that was a good game. Very different, very different feel. But then they started doing these spin-offs of, hey, Far Cry is going to be a different type of thing. And then, hey, Far Cry fucking the one that came out last year. Or the year before, I don't remember. I don't even remember the name of it. Set in the nuclear post-apocalypse where it's like, oh, wow, this sounds like it's going to be really different. Far Cry New Dawn. I just Googled it. And then that game was just the fucking same thing again, but it was a bit more neon. You talk now.
Sorry about that.
That's fine. Just talk. I need to stop
The
talking.
Mythos is fantastic. Why you wouldn't do this is beyond me. Again, the guy just shows he was not really a leader.
Because he didn't
found
like
his niche.
fantasy, Moody, and that's perfectly acceptable if you don't like a genre of thing.
That's a stupid reason. That's stupid.
It's a terrible
If he
reason.
doesn't like it.
I don't like
Yeah.
fantasy. So what? Like, do you know who likes fantasy? Loads of people.
Yeah. It's like freaking hell. I'm not the big battle royale guy, even though I play one. But I'm not the biggest guy who plays them. I'm not every day playing them. But if I was in charge, I wouldn't be saying, what, you want to create a battle royale? Give me the concept, let me know what it is, and we'll have a good talk about it. If it's a great idea and whatnot, we'll go full ahead with it.
Yeah.
But he's just like, no, I don't like fantasy. Fuck you. Go bugger off, mate.
Plus,
be bold.
Yeah,
Take risks.
It's not even bold or risk taking. You got the creative director of Dragon Age at your studio to make you a fantasy game. I mean, look, I like Dragon Age. I like Mike Laidlaw, but that combination, that formula, is neither bold nor risk taking. That's just business. That's just good business sense. Hey, we got this guy who's known for like directing the one of the biggest fantasy franchises in modern video games. What should we have him make? Oh, I know. How about a sci-fi game? Or we could have him make something he's really good at and he wants to make. Because he clearly left BioWare for a reason. We all know what that reason was. To come to Ubisoft to make this specific game. You can tell because he left as soon as it was obvious the game wasn't going anywhere.
He's willing to do a thing.
Yeah.
The idiot said no because he's an idiot. Yeah.
I mean, this article kind of explains a lot as well, where it's like, hey, remember all those cool, quirky Ubisoft games? the smaller like games like Valiant Hearts and Child of Light and Grow Home that were fun and awesome and like a lot of people enjoyed them. Hey, they disappeared all of a sudden, didn't they? I wonder where they went. Let me think. None of them were clearly better than Tolkien.
Or none of them made enough money.
Like, well, yeah, like they're fucking small games. Not you. I'm not saying you're a dick. I'm saying he's a dick. I mean, I called him a shithead in the intro of the video. But yeah. Anyway, fucking fuck him. That's what I gotta say. Fucking fuck him. And we'll move on. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War logo seemingly leaked by Doritos bag promotion. Headlines for 2020. Put that one in the bank. This is from Adam. This is from Adam Bankhurst over at IGN. He writes, a Doritos bag may have leaked the logo and name for the next Call of Duty, revealing that this entry will be called Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. As reported by ModernWarzone.com, the gaming revolution received a DM that showcases the new Double XP promotion for what could be 2020's Call of Duty game that we have yet to hear about. Furthermore, it states that the promotion will begin on October 5th, 2020, possibly hinting that Black Ops Cold War could be released in late October, that is if last year's Call of Duty Modern Warfare is any indication. Modern Warfare had a similar Double XP promotion that began on October 1st, 2019, and the game was officially released on October 25th, 2019. While there has yet to be any confirmation for 2020's Call of Duty, there have been reports that Black Ops Cold War is in fact the name. Additionally, there have been leaks of a game called The Red Door that may be an alpha test for this latest Call of Duty. The current Call of Duty Modern Warfare... I missed the comma, is in its fourth season for both multiplayer and Warzone and is expected to end on August 4th, 2020. Yo, where the fuck's Call of Duty, Moody? It's August.
Like the next PlayStation event, probably.
What PlayStation event? Like, the thing about Call of Duty is, right, like, I made a prediction based on the leaks of the alpha testing, the red dot, whatever, that it was going to be at the Xbox event. Obviously, that was wide of the mark because it wasn't like because of the event, the type of event that they were having. But we've had both the big reveal events for PlayStation and for Xbox, and we haven't seen Call of Duty. They haven't even done anything on their own, and the game is like 2-3 months away. Like in theory. I mean, what if this year they just didn't have a Call of Duty? How mad would that be?
But they have, but that Warzone came out this year. So.
You know what I mean? Like the big Call of Duty release. The Black Ops, whatever the fuck. Yeah, Black Ops.
I'm very intrigued to see how the development for this game has gone, because obviously they switched it over and gave it back
really badly from what we've heard.
Yeah, and you throw in the pandemic, what's going on and everything. I'm very intrigued to see how this game's going to end up looking like and playing like whenever it comes out. We know they're going to drop a Call of Duty at the end of this year. We know this. I think they'll rather just drop it, get mixed bag reactions or critics of what reviews from critics and everything like that, but it's still going to sell great
because no one's going to give a shit.
Yeah, and they'll fix the bugs and cracks or whatever throughout the time and everything, and getting things done as quick as possible. That's what screams out to me. When I think they're going to get revealed is probably at the next PlayStation event, which we all believe is going to be in August this month. So. Yeah, that's what I think it's probably going to be about. If it's not then, it's probably going to be a Jeff Keighley's thing at the end of the year, end of the month.
Yeah, maybe we'll see.
Game thing or whatever.
Well, they got it. If their double XP event starts on October 5th, they got to do it before October 5th. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, this game has not had a great development. This was supposed to be next year's Call of Duty, 2021, and then the Sledgehammer, I believe it was, game got canned. And they were like, let's just bring this game forward. And I imagine everybody at Treyarch was like, hey.
What the hell, yeah.
Great idea.
They're balls to the walls trying to get this game sorted.
It's a recipe for disaster. I'm just going to throw that out there. Like,
I wouldn't want to be anyone at that company right now when it comes to trying to create this game. Because if this game was meant to come out next year, that means they've got to get a year's worth of development in 3 months, or within the timeline when it was transferred over to them.
Yeah.
So
Like,
they lost a year of development, and they're trying to cram in all that year in the year, whatever they had to try and get it. And then you throw on a pandemic. It's just like, oh good God! It's like the hits just keep on coming for them.
yeah.
That's how crazy it's been for Treyman.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, like, it's unfathomable that the game wouldn't come out in 2020. And I think you're right. It's sure as up is down, left is right, left is left, right is right. Like, there's going to be a Call of Duty game at the end of 2020. But like, if there was ever not going to be one, now would probably be a good time, because it's kind of been the perfect storm of shit. That this game could be bad, and not intentionally, and not because the developers didn't do a good job making it, because it's going to be rushed, no matter what, because less than 2 years ago we had Call of Duty Black Ops 4, which was made by the same team, and 2 years to make a COD, 2 years to make any game, any big budget AAA game. Like, it's not going to have a battle royale, because now Warzone is the battle royale. Because they had Blackout. That was the first Call of Duty one, which was the one I played a lot. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Call of Duty over the next few months. I'm morbidly curious, but I'm also kind of like wincing a bit. Like, I don't know about any of this. Like, yeah. We'll be reading the Jason article next January about how badly overworked Treyarch was to get this game finished in time. And it's like, you could have delayed it and made the same amount of money, because you've got a product that came out this year, and it's not like Modern Warfare is not the best-selling game of 2020. Currently, it's like...
I could literally hear them coming out saying they aren't doing a story again.
Maybe. There's not really anything left, though, for them, because if the Warzone is the Battle Royale, it would literally just be on multiplayer, the multiplayer stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Battle Royale was the replacement for the story, and then there was the multiplayer stuff, which was actually pretty good in Black Ops 4. But I feel like I don't think they could get away with it not releasing with a Battle Royale and a single player. Like, if it was just whatever the gunfight and deathmatch and whatever the other multiplayer modes are.
All we know is that they'll be prioritizing the multiplayer to make sure that's working.
Yeah, easily. Loot boxes. You gotta rain loot boxes down from the sky on Normandy Beach. That's what you gotta do. Anyway, speaking of money, the corrupting influence of vast sums of cash. There we go. There's a segue. Star Citizen dev response to fans still waiting for the new Squadron 42 roadmap. This is from Tom Phillips over at Eurogamer, who writes, Star Citizen developer Cloud Imperium Games has responded to fans left waiting on a new development roadmap for the long-awaited single-player portion, Squadron 42. Unfortunately, months after admitting the game's previous roadmap no longer matched reality, yesterday's post amounted to a new vague roadmap to get to the actual new roadmap instead. As spotted by Kotaku, CIG's 4-part plan for a new plan goes as follows. 1. Give an explanation of the goals of our new roadmap and what to expect from it. 2. Show a rough mock-up of the proposed new roadmap. 3. Share a work-in-progress version of the roadmap for at least one of our core teams. 4. And then, finally, transition to this new roadmap. Quote, the new roadmap is something we hinted at in March, but because that is still very much in development, we can't share as much about it as we like, CIG staff member Xylo wrote. Excuse me. Believe me when I say I'm personally very eager to release it to you. We took the time to explore options for how we could better represent our progress, and I believe we are getting close to landing in a pretty great spot, end quote. The original Star Citizen was announced in 2012 and has since raised more than $300 million in crowdfunding money from fans waiting for it to fully release. In the past 6 months, it has raked in $50 million alone. Last August, CIG delayed Squadron 42's beta, then set for the second quarter of 2020 to the third quarter of 2020, meaning fans are expecting it any day now. And if they're expecting it any day now, they're going to be wildly, wildly disappointed. It's been a while since we talked about Star Citizen on the podcast. I'm pretty sure we've never talked about Star Citizen on this podcast. You and I. I like to check in every now and again and see how gaming's biggest pyramid scheme is going. We've got a plan. I had this very conversation in D&D when I was playing D&D last week, where it was like, "Do you have a plan?" And you were like, "Yeah." And then it was like, "Well, I've got a plan. I have a plan. Does that count as a plan?" Well, that's what I just read. We're making a plan to have a plan for this game that we kickstarted a month before the Wii U came out. Which was already been in development for 2 years before that point, was supposed to be a single-player game starring Luke Skywalker and Agent Scully. And was like, there was some stretch goals where it was going to be this big multiplayer game too. And then at some point, reality inverted on itself. The game got way more money than it needed to be made, and now is never going to be finished because it's too profitable to extract millions of dollars from people who want the game that was promised that I don't even know if it's possible to make. Which about sums up where we're at with Star Citizen. I believe the last time we talked about it on this podcast, they were selling people plots of land for $90 a pop. Land that doesn't exist. And I don't mean that in terms of it's virtual land. I mean the land that people are buying doesn't exist yet in the game. Like the spaceships that people buy for upwards of thousands of dollars. With the insurance, because you have to buy the insurance with the spaceships. I had Russell explain all this to me because he was an early backer of the game. It's in alpha though.
10 years later.
Yeah. It was due. There was a point in time where it was due to come out one year, and I think it was like 2016. Where it was on the calendar, and we were kind of watching it on the calendar as the year ticked by, and it was like that. But that was years ago. Like, console generations have come and gone while people wait for this game to come out. Like, and every time people just keep throwing more money at it, and it's like you with people criticizing Microsoft. I just don't understand why people keep throwing money at this game. I mean, I get the idea of the promise. Star Citizen sounds like a really cool game. But it's been 8 years. It's been 8 years. Help me, Moody. Help me understand this.
I'm not going to lie, I can't. Because you've said it probably right on. Like, the people who are excited for this game, they just keep on throwing the money. They've raked in $50 million just in the past 6 months. They raised $300 million from crowd money right from the beginning, and it's just like, come on, guys. If you want this game, you got to start maybe giving them some tough love and saying, "Yo, you're not giving us any more. I'm not giving you any more money until you start giving us the game. We want the game. At least be out of alpha, please. Put it in beta, or something like that. You know." So as there is a proper roadmap, and they surely don't have a roadmap because one, I can appreciate at the beginning when this thing came out that, whoa, we've just made this, what? How? Why? What the hell? And everything type of thing. When you see that amount of money come in, you're just flabbergasted. And then you're probably thinking, oh shit, we've now got to, instead of just concentrating on finishing the game they promoted, they're now, I think they feel like they're obligated to do, we've just brought in that amount of money, we now have to take from this size game to this size game. And how many years is that going to take? Oh, how much more money will we need? Oh, we'll need to constantly bring in at least 50 million every 6 months. Oh, we'll give the people things so we know how to bring them in and everything.
Like, oh shit, we can't make this. What do? We just have to keep leveraging the promise of this game until it eventually falls apart in our faces. And I can imagine Chris Roberts like sitting there going, how are we still getting away with this? So I'm on the Star Citizen Kickstarter page, which is like a moment frozen in time, as all Kickstarter pages are. 34,397 backers pledged $2.1 million to bring this project to life. So that was the original crowdfunding total. It's now on more than 300 million, but that's a whole different thing. The original estimated delivery date was November 2014. So just to put that in context of history, 1 year after the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One came out. Star Citizen is a rich universe focused on epic space adventure, trading, and dogfighting in first person. It's single player, offline or online, with drop in and drop out co-op play. It's a persistent universe with moddable multiplayer, no subscriptions, no pay to win. Those are like the high level bullet points. There were some stretch goals from 2 million like onwards, because obviously they were tracking what they were getting from other sources. And I don't know, man. Like at some point they must have realized the wheels had spun out from under them, and they realized they couldn't make this game.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the hell has been going on in the interim, but people have been giving them some money, like some vast amounts of money. Like I don't even want to get you started on how much Russell spent on this game back in the day, and he's written that money off. Like he doesn't expect to ever have a game to play. I'm pretty sure he's moved on with his entire life. Like if I mentioned Star Citizen, he'd be like, "That sounds familiar." Why does that sound familiar?
My bank account just to see
my
statement.
Oh god! Like the most expensive spaceship in the game is $2,500. That was in October 2015. I don't know how much it is now. It has a ship pack for $27,000, which is basically DLC that doesn't exist in a game that doesn't exist.
Who has this type of money to buy this?
I don't know.
Don't tell me it's all rich people, because we know the rich people. They don't like spending their money that much, rich people. So,
no, I don't know. I try to understand Star Citizen, and then they come out with things like, well, we don't have a roadmap anymore, but here's a roadmap to the roadmap so that we can get back on the road and never give you this game. Because Squadron 42 was the game people were kickstarting. I don't... that was like, never mind Star Citizen. There was a whole third game, which was going to be a first-person shooter. I'm pretty sure that got cancelled. Star Marine, I think it was called. Yeah. Anyway. It's a fucking pyramid scheme. Fucking... Oh, God.
That happened.
Yeah. Anyway, what have we got left? Yeah, I'll read this one. Well, I think we won't get much discussion out of it. Riot Games ends Saudi Arabia's Neom partnership following controversy. This is from Nicole Carpenter at Polygon. Funny fact: the two stories on Polygon of Riot Games announcing this partnership and Riot Games ending this partnership were one after the other. On Polygon, it was quite funny. League of Legends developer Riot Games has ended its partnership with proposed $500 billion Saudi Arabian city Neom just a day after its announcement. On Tuesday evening, Riot announced a partnership between the futuristic city and the League of Legends European Championship, LEC. The city was expected to be the main partner on the LEC's summer season, which is currently ongoing. Following criticism of the partnership online from community members, casters, and Riot Games employees citing Saudi Arabia's human rights violations, Riot announced the partnership's end. Alberto Guerrero, director of esports in the European, Middle East, and African regions, issued a statement on the Riot website. Quote, "As a company and as a league, we know that it's important to recognize when we make mistakes and work quickly to correct them. After further reflection, while we remain steadfastly committed to all of our players and fans worldwide, including those living in Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, the LEC has ended its partnership with Neom, effective immediately. In an effort to expand our esports ecosystem, we moved too quickly to cement this partnership and cause rifts in the very community we seek to grow. While we missed our own expectations in this instance, we're committed to re-examining our internal structures to ensure this doesn't happen again." End quote. Throughout the day on Tuesday, Riot Games employees, League of Legends casters, and esports fans spoke out against the partnership on social media, citing Saudi Arabia's poor history of human rights violations, as well as the city's forced eviction of the Huaytat tribe on the land where Neom is being built. Neom is held by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the leader said to have ordered the killing of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. Multiple sources told Polygon that internal staff were surprised and furious at the announcement. Many spoke publicly on social media against the policy, including League of Legends lead gameplay designer Mark Yetta, quote, "I can't and do not personally support this partnership," Yetta tweeted on Wednesday. "Sponsors are essential for the esport to thrive, but not at the cost of human life and freedoms." End quote. Many pointed out the irony of Riot Games posting the announcement while displaying an LGBTQ pride-themed Twitter avatar, noting the treatment of LGBTQ people in Saudi Arabia. You know, if you keep stepping in shit, Moody, the first couple of times you happen, I think you can blame the dogs, or the owners who are leaving the dog shit lying around. But if you keep doing it over and over again, might want to have a look in the mirror, because maybe it's got something to do with you. And I don't know, I just feel like that metaphor applies to Riot Games. You seem to keep stepping in shit. All the time.
Yeah, it's okay, yeah, congrats, you pulled out. This whole news about the prince and everything happened early last year. No, late last year, should I say. This has been around for a while. You should have pulled this out basically when the whole thing started to happen, when they murdered that reporter and everything.
Yeah. I mean, this didn't happen overnight.
Right now,
so.
Yeah, any company right now, Saudi money is tainted money. You keep away from it for me right now. It may bring you millions, billions even, but it's just so you know, it's coming tainted. They're
big style.
They're anti basically everything. They're anti-women. They're anti-LGBTQ. They're anti-human. The guy literally Prince literally got a reporter killed just because he didn't like what the guy was writing about him. And I think I'm just literally touching the surface of that. I'm sure it's more deeper than that about that, but
yeah.
Okay, congratulations, Riot. You did something kind of good.
Yeah.
Should have done it earlier.
Hey, maybe before you announce the deal, maybe just have a look into the people you're getting into bed with. And then you never have to actually put the apology out and back out of the deal. You fucking idiots. Like, you just got a slow clap. Like, what did you expect was going to happen? Like, people get kind of pissed off when, like, the thing that they like, or even going further than that, the thing that they work on is suddenly, like, at odds with their view of, like, humanity. In this case, human rights are good. Like, Mike Yetta, the lead gameplay designer, who tweeted about it. Like, essentially what he's saying is, like, he likes human rights, and the people that they married League of Legends to do not. Like, hey, it's not rocket science. This deal couldn't have happened in a day. Like, there had to have been weeks, months of negotiations to get to this point, and at any point during that process, you could have killed it. You didn't. And I'll go back to my metaphor about stepping in shit. Maybe you're the problem, Riot. Maybe you're the problem. Speaking of problems, after impassioned speech, AOC's ban on US military recruiting via Twitch fails House vote. This is from Kim Lyons over at The Verge, and is yet another nail in the coffin of, I say we just drop a fucking meteor on this planet and get it over with. An amendment proposed by Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat, New York, that would ban the US military from recruiting on Twitch failed a House vote on Thursday evening. Had it passed, it would have been an amendment to the House Committee on Appropriations bill, which is part of the process in how the Pentagon's annual budget is set. Thank you, West Wing, I already knew that. Ocasio-Cortez tweeted her frustration at trying to win over her colleagues on Thursday evening, quote, "Imagine trying to explain to your colleagues who are members of Congress what Twitch is," end quote. Ocasio-Cortez gave an impassioned speech on the House floor in advance of the vote on Thursday. Quote, "Children should not be targeted in general for many marketing purposes, in addition to military service. Right now, currently, children on platforms such as Twitch are bombarded with banner ads linked to recruitment sign-up forms that can be submitted by children as young as 12 years old. These are not education outreach programs for the military," end quote. The US military isn't new to using streaming channels and video gaming to recruit people. Several branches of the military, with the exception of the Marines, have had esports teams since 2018, and according to military.com, the Army's esports efforts alone generated 3,500 recruiting leads in fiscal year 2019. Last week, the Army paused its use of Twitch for recruitment after its channel was criticised for banning viewers who asked about war crimes. The Army told GameSpot, quote, "The team has paused streaming to review internal policies and procedures, as well as all platform-specific policies, to ensure those participating in the space are clear before streaming resumes," end quote. Earlier this month, Twitch told the Army to stop sharing phony prize giveaways on its channel that promised an Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, only for users to be directed to a recruitment page when they click through. The language of Ocasio-Cortez's draft would have made that pause permanent, banning US military organizations from using funds to, quote, "maintain a presence on Twitch.com or any video game, esports, or live streaming platform," end quote. I mean, in terms of ridiculous things that I'm speechless about, because why is this a thing? This is up there. This is up there, like big style. Like what? What? They were telling kids they could win a freaking Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, and then they clicked the link, and it was a recruitment page. What the fuck? And then, like, the house, whatever that is, in America, we're just like, yeah, cool, keep going. Like, what the fuck? What is the world we live in? Help me understand the world, Moody, because I feel like I'm losing my fucking mind.
I don't know what to say here. I really don't. Sorry, seriously don't.
No, I get it. I really do. The United States military has a bunch of esports teams. Because, like, there's what, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, they have esports teams. And they go out and they get kids as young as 12 to sign up for the military recruitment. Because the kids like video games. That's their only crime. They want to watch some video games on the internet. And maybe they figured soldiers would be good at shooters. Spoiler alert, those skills are not transferable. But what is all this? I'm speechless. This is supposed to be a podcast where I say words. And they form sentences. And those sentences sometimes make really good points. And all I've got is like, what the fuck is this shit?
Say anything. It's flabbergasting. It is absolutely flipping flabbergasting. This is the thing about it. The American freaking whole thing, the system and everything like that, is completely upside down and backwards for me, and I just don't understand it whatsoever. That this thing has been this has been allowed, and now, and just because they don't really understand it. I bet people who she was trying to convince just don't even understand what the hell Twitch is.
Yeah.
And she tried her best. Respect to her there, and it just hasn't worked.
All the love and respect in the world for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's amazing. I'll never forget H-Bomber Guy's Donkey Kong trans rights fundraising stream. Just purely because they got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on it to talk for like 5 minutes. Like, there's H-Bomber Guy sitting in his like, I can't remember how long it had been going for that point, 30th hour of trying to beat Donkey Kong 64 in a vest. Sitting there, chatting with a sitting US representative about Donkey Kong. Like, one of the best things I've ever seen on Twitch. But then you see stuff like this, where it's just like, I don't understand the world. People used to tell me, Mooney, right? When I was younger, and I was very much more politically active, like in my early 20s, I was like all into politics and stuff. Right? I'm a bit too jaded for that stuff now, and also I don't understand how people keep voting for the things that they vote for, right? But people always used to say, because I was quite liberal leaning, quite left leaning, you know, And they always just be like, "Oh, as you get older, you'll get more conservative." Like that was always the thing. Like you'll get old. Like because I was like, I don't understand conservatives, and they were like, you'll get older, you'll understand. What's actually happening, Moody, is I'm getting older, I'm getting more angry, and I'm getting more radicalized by all of the stupid shit that I see around me. So I don't know who the fuck thought, oh yeah, you're totally gonna get more conservative as you get older. Bitch, by the time I'm 45, I'm gonna be fucking a communist at this rate. I'm gonna be a hardcore socialist anarchist. Tag in Westminster. Like fucking Banksy 2.0. Like and that has no relevance or bearing to this podcast or this story. It's a thought that crossed my mind recently, and I thought it was funny, and I'd share it.
It's very crazy right now what's going on, bro. This whole thing, it's stupid just to think that they have to try and do it. There's a person tried to do this, tried to ban it, which is the right thing to do. I'm not meaning it wrong or anything like that. It's crazy that it's already in process, that she's had to do this. Why is this not already just banned? This is how crazy it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if I did a fake giveaway for an Elite Series 2 controller on my Twitch channel, I'd get banned permanently. Twitch wouldn't come out to me. Twitch wouldn't come up to me and politely ask me to maybe stop streaming for a bit. I'd wake up one morning and my channel would not be there anymore.
Sure.
Yeah, we got time for the last news story. I find it interesting. This one doesn't leave me speechless or flabbergasted. Ferrari is launching its own esports series this September. This is from Martin Robinson over at Eurogamer. He writes, Ferrari is kickstarting its own sim racing series later this year, with the Ferrari Hublot esports series commencing this September, and with a place on the Scuderia's own esports team up for grabs. The move comes off the back of an unprecedented amount of activity in sim racing as teams and drivers took to the virtual world during the extended off-season, with Ferrari's own F1 superstar Charles Leclerc emerging as one of the stars of the action. Leclerc will be keeping a watching brief on the series, offering his own advice and guidance in what's set to be a 3-stage tournament. An open AM series will see qualifiers begin this September, with registration open to all European residents over the age of 18 from August 7th, with 24 successful drivers going on to the Pro Rounds in October. The finals will have 12 drivers competing over 3 races for the ultimate prize in November. The Ferrari Hublot Esports Series will take place in Assetto Corsa, with the Ferrari 488 Evo being made exclusively available to competitors. This is interesting. Like, so I remember the big thing of F1 was cancelled because of the lockdown. Like, even though I would consider a lapsed F1 fan, like I still know about F1. And I remember like even getting Twitch recommendations to watch people like Charles Leclerc, like playing F1 on Twitch and being like, What is 2020? If only I knew back then. But yeah, this is really cool that like Ferrari have kind of gone, hey, there's something here, there's something to this, and then spun it out into something where it's like, and the prize is, hey, you could be on our Ferrari esports team, which I'm sure is very prestigious.
It's funny to me because 2 years ago they didn't even have a team in the F1 esports game at all. They were the only team that didn't have one. Mercedes had one, Renault had one, McLaren had one, and everything. They were the last ones to give one out. And funny enough, the first year they're in it, they win it. How funny is that?
Crazy, right?
Yeah, how crazy is that? Yeah, the esports when it came to streaming alone, when it came to the drivers alone streaming, it was incredible. You had Charles Leclerc, you had Lando Norris, you had George Russell, you had Carlos Sainz, you had many of the all young up-and-coming drivers who were going to be fighting for number ones in the futures. It's exciting to see this, and I'm betting Charles has been pushing this himself when this was all going off, but I wouldn't be surprised personally, because Ferrari are putting a lot of love in towards him. He's their future basically for F1. And to see this, I think this is incredible. I think it's fantastic. It's funny as hell. Like I said, just because they didn't have a team 2-3 years ago, and now they have one. What's the world champion?
Now they are dominating.
And they're pushing it like crazy now. I love it. I think this is fantastic. go for it. If you are a sim racer and you are relatively good, go for it. Give it a go.
What, you never know what could happen, right?
You never know. Yeah.
You could be on Ferrari's esports sim racing team in 2021. And wouldn't that be a Cinderella story of a lockdown? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool. I just thought it was cool, and I thought I'd put it in here because it was fun. I was going to put it in the announcements, and then I actually read the story, and I was like, oh, actually, I have things to say about this, so I will put it in the actual news story. And also,
It's best to finish off on something pretty good.
yeah, it'll be a nice balance from the previous news story, which was originally what was going to end the show. Or this section of the show, I should say, because we've still got a long time left, Moody. This is still we've still got a lot of show left. But we'll start with announcements, release dates, delays, etc., etc. So we've got a few of everything, because last week we didn't have that much, because the big thing was the Xbox showcase, and we covered that in a separate video. This week we haven't covered anything in a separate video. There was some fighting game thing that happened. Too late for us to talk about because of when we're recording this podcast. So don't get mad at us if we missed any big fighting game reveals.
Mad at me because I was the one who asked to record it.
Don't worry. Hey, we record when we record. You get to be lit up from behind for the entire podcast because we're recording in the afternoon. And I get Sunday off. Like, we organised an entire extra D&D session because of my availability, which is normally never the case. So, you know, it all worked out in the end. Anyway, there's been some reveals, there's been some release dates, there's been a lot of quote-unquote free games announced and one really baffling movie announcement. For the games, People Can Fly have an untitled next-gen AAA game coming out. Private Division are publishing the next games from Moon Studios' Roll7 and League of Geeks. In Exile announced a sci-fi VR shooter, Frostpoint, coming to PC later this year. And Codemasters announced the official British Touring Car Championship game coming in 2022. Moon Studios' next game is the one that interests me out of all those, because they're the makers of Ori and both of them. And
did you just fart on the names of the games there?
No, I was like, which one do I say? Because they're both true. Both of them. Yeah, they made both the Ori games, and their next game is going to be an action RPG, I believe they said, published by Private Division, not by Xbox Game Studios. That fascinates me a little bit, because I just assumed they were going to make another Ori game. Do a trilogy. But, yeah, they're not doing that. They're going in the opposite direction of Obsidian, whose Outer Worlds was published by Private Division, and then the next games will be published by Xbox. Jazz hands. I don't know. Like, I'm not suggesting there's like bad blood or a big story here. I just thought it was interesting that happened.
For me, with how Ori 2 ends, for me, they kind of put a dent in, tied it up and just put a nice little bow and said, there, the game's done, the franchise is done.
Yeah, maybe, I suppose.
Now. For me.
Yeah, oh no, like, I can totally see how Ori and the Will of the Wisps could be the last thing in the Ori franchise, quote-unquote franchise. It is that kind of thing of, like, I just assumed Microsoft would have just gone, here's all the money, make another one. Or even just, here's all the money, make whatever the fuck you want.
Here's all the money, can we buy you and now make whatever you want?
Yeah. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe they were like, we want to buy, here's all the money to buy you. And they were like, no, we want to stay independent. And Private Division were just like, well, we'll just publish your next game. And then they went, okay, we'll do that instead. Maybe that's the story behind it. We got some release dates. Hyperscape's full launch is on August 11th on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Don't expect any coverage on Words About Games because of all of the sex abuse at Ubisoft. Battletoads is coming to Game Pass on August 20th. Frostpunk, the Frostpunk expansion on the Edge comes to PC on August 20th. Parkasaurus is leaving early access on August 13th. And Cuphead surprise launched on PS4 last week, which, you know, isn't obviously coming out this week, but I thought it was noteworthy enough, given that at one point in time, Cuphead was never going to release on PS4.
The creator even said,
yeah, and then it did. Which is cool. Like, I love Cuphead. I'm really happy to see it other people can now play it if they want to play it. It's a great game.
Yeah, it really is. Like you say, one that was surprising for me is that just how it's just baffling at the same time. It's like Xbox, you tell me you couldn't have put
Battletoads.
Battletoads
I think
in
they're trying
your
to
event
just.
2 weeks
I think they're
ago?
just trying to sneak this game out
Do they
because
just tell me this game's bad. It's like really bad. This game, and they're like,
we saw Battletoads sometime last year because I remember watching it. I think I was watching it with Keith, but I don't think it was E3. So I don't think we were doing a live reaction to it. But I think we were watching the gameplay, and we both looked at it and went, that doesn't look great. Like, it really doesn't look great. I alluded to that in our Fantasy Critic when we were drafting games, because Russ drafted Battletoads and I counterpicked it, and I was like, the game did not look good the last time I saw it. What I assumed had happened, because obviously we haven't heard about it in the entire of 2020 until this week, was that they'd taken the feedback that I'm sure a lot of people had given them of this doesn't look good, and we're like, cool, we're going to redo the game. But what's actually happening now is Microsoft, who have just had a major event talking about their all of their games, skipped talking about Battletoads at this event, waited a week, and then just went, Battletoads is coming out in a few weeks. I think they're hoping people don't notice, which sucks for the people who are making Battletoads. But I think it's going to suck for the people who play Battletoads as well. Because, yeah, like I said, the last time I saw it, and hey, maybe it looks great now, and they're just... Maybe it was like Daenerys in Game of Thrones and all those boats, and they just forgot about it when they were putting their show together.
Forgot about it.
They just forgot about it. Oh, shit. Phil, weren't you supposed to tell them Battletoads is coming out? And Phil's like, ah, shit. I've been on so many different shows this summer.
They did. It was in Grounded. That was them shadow dropping.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, they couldn't have. They focused on a Battletoad, so they didn't forget about Battletoads.
That was fair.
Right. August 20th. It's going to be interesting. Can't wait to do the OpenCritic Head-To-Head on Battletoads. That's your answer for everything. We got some free games. No, it's not. I know. Free games with subscriptions. PS Plus games for August: Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered and Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. Games with gold coming in on August 1st: Portal Knights and MX Unleashed. Games with gold coming on August 16th are Override Mech City Brawl and Red Faction 2. And Sonic Mania, Endless Legend, and 2 Point Hospital are all joining Origin Access Premier. I mean, there's a standout for me. Out of those 4 things, and it ain't an Xbox. It ain't games with gold. PS Plus is pretty good this month.
We gotta set up playing Fall Guys next week. We gotta set it up.
Yes, 100%.
But I mean,
yeah, 100%. Like, we'll be playing it next week, on stream, off stream, both. Yes, I'll be playing it all week. Plus, Call of Duty is not a thing to sniff at being in a PS Plus, especially considering it's the latest remastered release, like, of Modern Warfare 2. Like, it's not like one of the older games, like Black Ops 3, say, for example, like, or Infinite Warfare. It's like, Modern Warfare 2 was the game. Modern Warfare 2 Remastered was the one that came out before Modern Warfare, which was last year's game. So it's one of the most recent, even though it's a remaster of a really old one. Stick with me.
Yeah.
That's a strong lineup, because Fall Guys is a brand new game that's launching in PS Plus. I got an email saying, hey, so we're not doing PS4 codes because we're putting it in PS Plus, so what would be the point? And I was like, yeah, that's fair. Like, that's fair. Can't argue with that. And then Call of Duty as well, where it's like, a lot of people are going to go in for Call of Duty because it's Call of Duty, and probably just go, well, I'll get this game as well. And I think Fall Guys is going to be huge.
Still top 5, I believe, have played, I think.
Yeah, I was telling the story the other day where it was like they did a beta and didn't tell anyone, and it was top 12 on Twitch. But this game's going to be like Rocket League was when it came out. it is currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7th. So there's a beta happening this weekend. And it is 7th. It's behind League of Legends, Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto, Counter-Strike, Warframe, just chatting. So it's 6th technically in games. It's ahead of Call of Duty Warzone and Valorant. Lol. Which tickles me. Remember when everybody said Valorant was the next big thing?
No.
It was for about a week. Also, we have a Beyond Good and Evil Netflix movie was announced, and I'll just say what I said in group chat when Moody put it in the group chat. Hey, you know what they should do? They should make a sequel game. That'd be neat. Odds on this movie just basically being like Uncharted. High. Because it's Beyond Good and Evil. It was like a 4 or 5 hour game. It was really good. Then they announced the sequel a million years ago. And then they re-announced the sequel a little bit later. Where the fuck's Beyond Good and Evil?
Even though it's gone Beyond Good and Evil 2.
I don't know. I'll be honest, it's been so long. I don't know anymore. There's a game. It may or may not still be in development. No one's really sure. But now apparently they're making a movie. Maybe they turned the game into a movie. Video game movies are always good. How could this go wrong?
They're always good.
They're always fantastic. Anyway, content drop. Because we've got some articles you should read and some videos you should watch. First up, I got one from Polygon here, which is the personal experiences that Lev and Yara's actors brought to The Last of Us Part 2, which is an interview with, hold on, I can read their names, Ian Alexander and Victoria Grace. It's in the hyperlink, so I was like, I can read that. Those are the actors who played Lev and Yara in The Last of Us Part 2. It's a really good interview, really fascinating. Neither of them had ever done a video game before. Doing Last of Us Part 2.
Didn't tell. I won't lie, didn't tell. So.
Definitely not. We also have a gamesindustry.biz opinion piece titled, I Really Want E3 Back. And I'm just going to leave that title hanging. Look at the camera. With its single tear. Imagine there's a single tear rolling down my eye going, yes, please. And just nodding. It's a really fascinating article because it does point out that like this summer of gaming has been great for numbers, and in terms of like companies realizing they can announce shit on their own and they don't need E3, but it's also been a chaotic, confusing mess of explosions of video game announcements everywhere that nobody can keep up with, not even people who are trying to keep up with it for the sake of a podcast on the internet.
Yeah.
I might have editorialized a little bit.
It's been a bit of a mess, so yeah, E3. Who would have thought we would have been saying that?
I did.
We were all saying, it's dying, and everything.
I've had E3's back in terms of it being an organized place where I can get all of the news in one burst. Because this, look, has been super confusing and really difficult to keep track of, and I don't remember half the shit I'm supposed to remember about what's happened over the past few months. And we've still got the entire of August to go.
I'll openly hold my hand up. I've got egg on my face because every time we were there, something was announcing, that's great. Everyone's coming together. They're helping each other out, working together, doing their own thing and everything. And it's been a gigantic mess. Yeah, it's been some fun things. The PlayStation 5 event was fantastic. We all admit that. The Xbox event was a solid, great show.
Devolver
Digital was a good event, there's no doubt about it.
But even like things like the
event, which was nothing, the EA event, which was nothing.
Whatever. The Ubisoft Forward, which was whatever. The Guerrilla Collective, the Wholesome Games Showcase, stuff like that. But like Moody, how much of this stuff would have you seen at E3 anyway? This is kind of the point. Like most of this stuff would have happened in one way or another at E3, apart from the PlayStation thing. Like we would have got it, but we would have been able to keep track of it because we would have been there for a week and then gone. Like it's just like E3 is problematic in so many ways. But yeah, there is this kind of thing where it's like it's also really useful to have all of this stuff happen all at once, rather than over 4 months, which might have been pushing it a little bit. Now that I see in retrospect, maybe 4 months was a bit too much. There's a pair of videos in the content drop from youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, which is 2 really cool interviews with Tim Schafer about 20 years of Double Fine and with Major Nelson about launching 3 generations of Xbox. They're both very cool interviews. And you should check them out. I see what I did there. I'm good, Moody. I'm good. I've had 217 episodes of practice. Minus the few that I've missed. There are some games out this week, Moody. Would you like me to tell you about them? Yeah. Lovely. This is what I have to put. This is what I have to work with. On August 4th. That's just off putting. Help. On August 4th, we have Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout coming on PC and PS4. Fall Guys. Wow. I just said the game was coming on PC and PS4.
Okay.
I don't know if I can do the rest of this.
It is definitely the Ultimate Knockout, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't think I can do the rest of this podcast.
I'm going to open my window.
Uh-huh. Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout is coming to PC and PS4. Fall Guys is a massively multiplayer party game with up to 60 players online in a free-for-all struggle through round after round of escalating chaos until one victor remains. Also on August 4th, Hellbound is coming to PC. Classic first-person shooter style game, like the good old days. An action game focused on speed, gore, guns, and metal music, inspired by the 90s classics with modern visuals and audio. Also on August 4th, we have Scully, coming to PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. On a mysterious remote island, a skull washes up on shore and is reawakened by an enigmatic deity. Dubbed Scully, the newly reanimated being has been summoned to intervene in a war between the deity's 3 siblings, whose quarrel jeopardizes the island they call home. And, lastly for August 4th, we have Relicta coming to PC, PS4 and Xbox One. Relicta is a first-person, physics-based puzzle game where you need to creatively combine magnetism and gravity to unravel the secrets of Chandra Base. On August 7th, we have Fast and Furious Crossroads coming to PC, PS4 and Xbox One. Gear up for fast, cinematic, non-stop action in a new chapter of the Fast and Furious saga as you hunt down an international crime syndicate and pump the brakes on their plans. And lastly, also on August 7th, we have Inertial Drift coming to PC, PS4, Xbox One and Nintendo Switch. Forget everything you know about drifting. Inertial Drift tears up the racing rulebook with innovative twin-stick controls, completely reimagined driving mechanics, and a roster of fiercely individual cars. OpenCritic Head-To-Head?
Why the hell not, Amy? I think you should check out OpenCritic because the scores have changed.
Oh, piss. Critics just leave these things alone? It's not even on the front page. This is too much effort. Now I've got to fucking go to the thing, search the thing, click the thing, scroll down on the thing, give myself a point. Why'd you point that out? You know I would never have noticed.
I'm being fair.
I wouldn't have particularly cared either. But now I've got to re-edit the whole document now. Oh my god.
It's that hard.
We're recording a podcast!
It's already been a shit show on fire. I've left the room twice.
Right, but it doesn't have to be a shit show on fire on purpose. That's all I'm saying. Alright, I think I've edited everything. OpenCritic Head-To-Head is a game myself and Moody play every single week where we try to guess the OpenCritic average of one upcoming game. Whoever gets as closest to the score gets 1 point. If you manage to guess the score correctly, you get 2 points. If it's completely between the two things that we guess, you get 0 points, and we put it in a special draw category. Last week, we tried to guess the OpenCritic average of Other Side. I guessed that it would get an OpenCritic average of 77. Moody guessed it would get an OpenCritic average of 73. And apparently it has an OpenCritic average of 76, which means I get a point. And that makes the current scores Amy 15, Moody 10, with 2 draws. I knew there was a bit I hadn't heard. There we go. I guess closest on Dreams, Warcraft 3, One Punch Man, Half-Life Alyx, Resident Evil 3, Gears Tactics, Legends of Runeterra, Deep Rock Galactic Mania, Xenoblade Chronicles, West of Dead, Ghost of Tsushima, Other Sign, and I guessed the score correctly for Carrion. Moody guessed closest on Zombie Army 4, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, XCOM, Chimera Squad, Command & Conquer, Remastered, Iron Man VR Deadly Premonition 2, and guessed the score correctly for Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. There's been 2 draws for Last of Us Part 2 and SpongeBob SquarePants. I'm trying to be really gracious about the lead I have over you, Moody, because it wasn't but a couple of months ago that I was in your position.
That is true.
There's still a lot of weeks of 2020 left, and a lot of games we have to try and guess the OpenCritic average for. But for this week's game, Moody, I'm going to give you a choice of which of these 2 games do you want to play OpenCritic Head-To-Head for, because we can do it for Fall Guys, which is undoubtedly, in my mind, the biggest new release of this upcoming week. Or we can take a chance that Fast and Furious Crossroads actually comes out and try and guess the OpenCritic average for that, which I think would be more chaotic, because who even knows what the hell that game is going to look like other than a PS2 game.
I'd rather vote on the game that we are both going to be playing.
So, Fast and Furious, yeah? Hey, if it comes out, I'm going to play it. I'm too curious not to.
Fall Guys.
Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. Moody, what do you think the OpenCritic average of Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout will be at the time of recording next week?
Fall Guys, I think, is going to be like what you said. I think it's going to be like the next Rocket League. For me, I think it's going to be at 88.
That's cool. 88. 88. Like just for anyone who follows this segment, yes, normally we don't do games that I have played or I'm currently playing, thanks to getting codes or whatever. But it's a little bit different this time because I was able to stream the game. So not only was I playing it, but Moody was also watching me play it. Whereas normally it's a game that's under embargo and I can't talk about it, but I've played a bunch of it and I have an insight into what that game is like. Just in case anyone goes off of the whole, this seems a bit unfair. You've played the game, Amy. It's yeah, but Moody was there. He heard all the things I said about it, and we've talked extensively about it over the past week.
We have.
And all of that being said, I'm going with a tactic, Moody, that has failed me probably 100% of the time so far in 2020.
Yes.
But I want to do it because when you're just optimistic about a game, right? And you wish it the best in everything. Yep. And even though this tactic, like I said, has led to me getting 0 points in OpenCritic Head-To-Head. Yep. But it's like I said months and months ago, where it was I'd rather fail shooting for the stars rather than saying this game might be not exceptional. I don't know. I don't remember what I said. It was months ago. I don't even remember what I said on last week's. I don't even remember what I said at the beginning of this podcast. I've been racking my brain for the last 5 minutes trying to remember. I remember saying I wanted to discuss something in the post show. Don't remember what it was. That was an hour and a half ago. I'm going for 91. I'm going high, Moody. I'm going high because I love Fall Guys. Maybe this is me subconsciously putting the score I would give it onto OpenCritic Head-To-Head. I haven't played it for a bit. Maybe I'm just an idiot. I am an idiot, but maybe I'm just being an idiot. I'm always being an idiot. Whatever. You get the point. I think Fall Guys is going to be amazing. And I think it's going to be amazingly well received. And I can't wait to get my 2 points next week. And that's the only time I'm going to be not gracious about my current domination of the standings. Actually, that's the last time. But I think this game's going to be huge. It's already pretty big on Twitch. I don't know if it's going to like permanently supplant like likes of Fortnite and League of Legends and stuff, but I think it's going to be big enough on Twitch because it is a pretty good streaming game, and I think a lot of people are going to play it because it's going to be in PS Plus.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. I think it's going to be huge just for that alone.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got plenty of time.
Have you figured out what you wanted to talk about?
It'll come to me.
If you want to, I can show you my birthday gifts if you want.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's open birthday
look.
gifts. Let's open birthday presents.
Some might say, I just want to.
It's a good song.
Some might say, I think this is the greatest Pokemon of all time.
Some might say.
And some might say that my partner's gone a bit crazy on my little love for this little guy.
Oh.
So first of all, let's go. Got myself a little Bulbasaur Funko Pop.
Hey!
Look at that cute little guy.
Oh, I love Bulbasaur.
Yep.
That's why Sylveon's behind me, by the way, everybody who's watching. Like,
then she went even more crazier because I can now put him in a Pokeball if I wanted to.
oh wow. So when we meet up for the inevitable charity stream that we actually do in person, you're just gonna throw a Bulbasaur at me. Get her!
Something like that. Then we have this little beauty, this little black box.
Ooh.
That is a. Oh wow! It's not lit up, but it's a Bulbasaur in glass that will light up.
I'm sensing a theme to your birthday gift.
Yeah, I'm sensing the theme as well for what she's bought me. Yes, I'm
Yeah.
sensing the theme as well. And then she finished off. She says, "I can't do anything about this one." And I said, then I found out. I was thinking, "No, I love this one. It's even better." She goes,
Amiibo!
My first Amiibo.
I didn't know there was a Bulbasaur Amiibo. That's awesome.
It's Ivysaur. It's Ivysaur.
Oh, it's
It's
Ivysaur.
evolved form, yeah.
Oh.
And I love its. I love its evolved evolution. So I'm like,
Hold it up
Ivysaur,
to the
that's
camera
awesome.
again. To be fair, because we had this discussion, I can't remember if it was on camera or not. We had a discussion about Pokemon evolutions the other day. To be fair, that's a good evolution. Just like,
Oh hell yeah, yeah.
just like this is a good evolution. Like, there are a lot of bad evolutions that broke my heart in Pokemon Sword. But that's awesome. That's a good birthday haul.
Well, I've got another thing coming.
Oh,
As well.
I thought you had it. I was like, oh, we got more.
No, that's not Bulbasaur.
Okay,
That's a
still
racing wheel.
Bulbasaur. Oh yeah, you mentioned the racing wheel. That's cool. I'm never gonna get him to play anything other than Formula One again. I've gotta get my Fall Guys time in while I can. because as soon as you get that wheel, it's gonna be all flipping off Lewis Hamilton as you're driving past all the time.
How many batteries? Are you kidding me?
All we need to do is get you F1 in VR with the wheel, and if we can set you a sled up, I'll lose you forever. I'll have to get someone else to do the podcast.
This is not going to be. This ain't gonna be stable. I'm gonna be very safe on this one.
Yeah, you're gonna have to put that out of reach.
Yeah,
Where you
from
can't knock
Sophia
it.
myself.
Where you can't just knock it over. Wow.
Yeah. Oh wow! I thought I had a dip. It doesn't. It's just the light underneath it. Oh, that is very, very a bit tantalizingly scary, but I love it. Yeah, everyone. I love the Bulbasaur is my favorite Pokemon. His
Moody loves
evolution's my favorite
Bulbasaur.
one. I love my Bulbasaur.
I just found the title of the post-show discussion. Moody loves
Loves his Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur. I think
And
I've
if
sold.
anyone's wondering, am I keeping these boxed? No, they are coming out of their box.
Yeah, no, fuck that. I'm the same. I'm not the person who keeps stuff in the box. It's like, no. Like, clearly, you can see that behind me. It's like, stuff comes out of the box, because what's the point in keeping it in the box? Ooh, it keeps its value? Like, I'm not gonna sell this shit? Yeah. Plus, all the Bulbasaurs and stuff, and the Bulba evolution. Well, Ivysaur, that was it. Will look really cool, like, next to each other on a shelf.
Oh yeah, they're going right in front of me.
Oh, yeah, they're in front of you. Yeah, you shared a picture on Twitter, I remember. Should we start? I've remembered, by the way.
Yay.
Should we start a podcast, a non-gaming podcast, like not necessarily a weekly thing, right? Should we just like every now and again just sit down and record a podcast about anything but games, where we just chat shit about whatever the fuck's going on
I do. It's called The Glorious Movie
in our lives? Yeah, I've been on your show. You've got. I'm talking less direction than the Glorious Movie Show and the Words About Gamescast combined. Just talk shit about whatever the fuck we want. Because it came to me because like I've had this idea in the past and it's never gotten off of the ground, and I kind of shelved it in the back of my head for years now, where it was like, hey, we just have a podcast where we just talk about life or whatever we're doing that's not to do with video games. Because there are times when I'm not playing video games. I was reading a book before we started doing this podcast today, but yeah, like we've sometimes in the post show we'll talk about She-Ra for like 20 minutes, and probably not that long, but like we talk about things like we talk about non-serious things like She-Ra and whatnot, but we also do touch on some quote unquote serious stuff where it's like I'll talk about like my being trans and whatnot, or like we'll talk about like some other serious thing that isn't popping into my head right now because I've been talking for the last hour and 40 minutes and it's starting to get my my brain fries are starting to scramble in the heat. But basically, like we talk about, that's awesome. Like we talk about a lot of random shit on podcasts. What if we just had an outlet for it? It'd be like, let's sit down and talk. What do you want to talk about? We'll talk about Bulbasaur for 20 minutes. And then I'll talk about a book I'm reading, and then Moody can talk about Formula One, and then I'll talk about, I don't know, funny transition stories, because I got a lot of those, because, yeah, it's pretty awkward having puberty when you're in your mid-30s. Puberty 2, puberty harder.
Good. Name of your pay-per-view.
Maybe as I'm not talking about starting a podcast, I'll just start an OnlyFans. I think there's a lot of interesting things that we don't talk about because it's not video game related, and this is a video game podcast. And obviously, like, we probably won't talk all that much about movies because I don't want to step on your toes, because you do a movie podcast, which you should all go and check out. It's called The Glorious Movie Show. Go search for it on whatever podcast listening device that you use to listen to podcasts. I try to think of a clever word. Except Google. Google sucks anyway.
Google's a pain in the ass to get it on.
I cancel Google. I'm on Spotify now. You're muted, I'm pretty sure.
Am I?
I didn't hear anything that you just said while you were holding Ivy.
Oh my god, that is so beautiful.
It is. But yeah, god. I don't know. Maybe it's something to look into.
It's something we can definitely discuss. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, it's like finding the time for both of us and everything. So
yeah, well, we'll just sit down, we'll chill, we'll hang out for like an hour or something. Maybe get some other people on. Keith, Patrick, Russell. I could invite a bunch of people. Luna, Kirsty, like this. There's tons of people who would do a general chatting about nothing podcast compared to like doing a video game news podcast, which is a little bit more intense. Because you know how many times you ask people who are like, who would be really good at doing this podcast, but people who have even done it before in the past, but you ask them like, do you want to be on this podcast? And they're like, oh, I don't know, I don't really keep up with the gaming news as much, or I don't know if I'd have opinions on everything. And I just sit there and go like, shit, we don't have opinions half the time.
Yeah, we just talk.
It's just talking. It's all it is. It's a podcast. But yeah, like, I don't know. If anybody out there has an opinion, feel free to DM me it about starting a podcast where we talk about life. Like, it wouldn't ever be a thing where it's like, oh, it's once a month, it's once a fortnight, it's every Friday, whatever. It would just be like, oh, I've got time, you got time, someone else has got time. Let's just chat about stuff Or like, if you've got something to chat about, let's just chat about it. And then we'll go from
Yeah,
there. If there's one thing me and you are very good at, Moody, it's talking.
yeah, we just talk about the most randomest of shit. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Like when we're playing Apex, we're just like randomly talking about it, and then we just go, ah!
Yeah,
Damn it,
and then
damn
we
it.
few minutes spent talking about the game, and then we get back to talking about pizza.
Yeah.
I have spent an entire Apex Legends session talking about food because I was hungry. And as Moody knows, I can have some pretty in-depth discussions about food. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. I can go in deep on I can go in deep on minutia of topics.
The minutia of things.
Pizza toppings. I think I've had hours long discussions about pizza toppings. Not pizza, not food in general, just toppings for pizzas. Underrated toppings. Because I remember sausage came out on top for me as being an underrated pizza topping. And this is my point, Moody. We're doing it right now. We're just chatting nonsense backwards and forwards at each other right now.
Just chatting shit. In the words about Gamescast.
Do you think I get away with calling it just chatting? And then
No.
and then we'll stream it on Twitch, and it'll be in the just chatting category, just chatting category, and it'll be called just chatting. And it'll be like those bands that name their first album after themselves.
Chatting's just chatting.
Just chatting's just chatting.
Just Chatting's album, Just Chatting. Not crazy at all.
Yeah, we'll see. It was an interesting thought.
No, I think you've got a. It's like I said, it's definitely something we definitely discuss and everything. We're looking to see what our future is. I think it'd probably be a every 2-week thing, I would say.
Yeah, give or take. Like I say, let's not put a thing on it and just do it whenever.
Down or anything,
yeah.
Definitely we can definitely something we can talk about because like we both have more than just video games and movies to talk about and everything. Like you said, I brought up She-Ra and everything like that, and multiple other stuff and everything. Like I'm about to watch The Umbrella Academy when Sophia gets back, so I'm getting ready to watch season 2 of that. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Like I just rewatched Firefly, which everybody knows because I keep bringing it up on every podcast I'm on because I love Firefly. But I have no outlet for talking about that. Whereas like with video games, it goes in the opposite direction, where it's like I talk so much about video games on YouTube and Twitch that people in real life will just try to start conversations with me about video games, and I just don't want to talk about video games in real life. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I talk so much about them, and then someone will be like, "Hey, so what about such and such video game?" And it's like I've already had like 6 hours worth of fucking words said about this. I'm fine, thanks. Can we talk about like something else?
That's definitely we can definitely look into it and everything. So
yeah, like I've written down future podcast ideas. Do you have any future podcast ideas for like words about games? If you were in charge, if I was like, you want to run this podcast, and then you went yes, and instead of me going, well, you can't. I just went okay, and then I just took the headphones off and I just left. Like, what would your number one podcast be? Not even video games. If you could start a podcast that's not the Glorious Movie Show, which is obviously the number one, and the Words About Gamescast, which is obviously the number 2, like what would be your dream podcast to be host or be a part of?
I'm not gonna lie, it'll probably be either a wrestling one or an F1 one.
Those are solid. Those are solid. I know an F1 podcast. I never listen to it, but I see it on Twitter all the time. That'd be cool. Yeah. I don't know what my ideal like other podcast would be. Like people keep telling me I should start a podcast like talking about transgender stuff, and it's just like you've seen me talk about video games. Unless I write it down and read it off the screen, I'm very inarticulate. Like, I don't know if I could carry a podcast that's meant to be that serious, even though
Yeah,
I've literally spent the last month talking about sexual abuse allegations at a AAA developer, but
mhm.
that's personal. Like, and not in a way where it's like, oh, I wouldn't want to share it because it's personal. Like, you can ask me like anything and I'll answer it within reason. And it's like, I'm very open about sharing this stuff, but it's also really personal. I don't know if I'd get really self conscious trying to talk about it on a podcast with someone. But
That's understandable. Yeah.
at the same time, it's like that would be a cool podcast to do, um, and just chat about all sorts of different aspects for it. Because like one of the things that was helpful to me when I was coming to terms with stuff, I don't know if that's a good way to describe that bit in between me going, oh shit, I'm trans, and doing something about it. There was like that window in the
Yeah.
middle. Was there's like tons of trans people on Twitter, obviously, and like some of them keep their DMs open, so you can just DM them, which must be hell for them to like dig through. But I was able to like DM with a few people and like just talk about stuff and get really good advice and get really good all sorts of different stuff, which was super helpful during that window period of being like, and then beyond of being like, okay, I've decided I'm going to do something about it. What the fuck do I do? And like I did the same thing where it's like I was like, cool, like my DMs were always open because nobody ever DM'd me because I was just nobody on online. Like that's fair to say, still nobody online, but like I have had a couple of people who have actually now turned into really good friends, where it's been like in that position that I was in, messaging me to ask me questions and me being like, holy shit, I've been at this for a while now, and like I could turn that into a podcast. Like, even if it's just helpful to like one person, like that's one person helped.
Yeah.
Because it's very fucking confusing and terrifying and awesome and exciting and scary all at the same time. Which is a very strange mix of emotions to go through all at once.
There's like I don't know anything that you've gone through, anything like that. You've gone through on your personal experience. You've gone on a personal adventure that you're going to go on for the rest of your life, which
Like
is
Bilbo, I'm going on an adventure.
it's I can only imagine how exciting it is for you, but also terrifying for you at the same time. I could never understand what you've gone through or going through anything like that, and whatnot. And like I said, you've spoken to people who have gone through that and yourself, and you've become good friends with it, and people have now come to you. And I think that's the great thing. Where I hear when you say that, I'm thinking that's fantastic. And everything to hear that people have come to you to say how I need to speak to someone, blah blah blah, any advice, yada yada, and everything like that. And that's just a great thing to think and whatnot.
Yeah, it's like it's paying forward. Like for me personally, it's just like it was like I'm gonna pay this forward because like without help, I don't know. Like I would have floundered quite badly in certain aspects, and it's like yeah, cool. Like, and I get tons of shit DMs. Like when I came out, so I did things in a weird order. Maybe one day I will talk about this on a future potential podcast. But like I was because I never used Instagram before, and I don't really use it now because it's not a platform I really understand very much, so I just kind of avoid it. Like I went out on Instagram, and I was like, cool, you know what? That's going to be my online profile, quote unquote. In again in that window of time between I'm doing the thing and I come out because obviously that's a different timeline as well. And I was like, I'm going to use Instagram and be trans on Instagram and it's going to be awesome and cool and stuff. And I had a friend who was a streamer who was giving me tons of advice about stuff. And I signed up to Instagram, did the thing, set the thing up, put my first post out. It was a selfie, right? With like all the makeup done and the clothes and the wig. I had the big red wig at the time. And I put it out and I did the thing and I put the tags on it that she said to put on it. And I had a dick in my inbox within 5 minutes. Like, no joke. Like, it took 5 minutes. And like, it's the same experience on Twitter DMs. Keeping your Twitter DMs is open is a bit of a minefield. of bewildering, confusing. And there's all, you play roulette sometimes where it's like you open a DM and it's like this DM may contain sensitive content, and it does this thing where it blurs the picture, and it's like, do you want to see it? Yes or no? And intelligently, you should say no, right? Like, no, I don't want to see this. This is 99% gonna be someone's penis, and I've got one, thanks, and I hate that. So why would I want to see yours? Now. But because it's like the mystery box, it's the way it's set up in the DMs. Like, you will eventually click yes to see what it is, because sometimes it's not a penis. One time, some dude sent me a picture of flowers. Go figure. I don't know why. Wasn't a dick though, so it was quite nice. But yeah. But it's still worth doing to keep the DMs open, to just like be there for people and be like, hey, I have information. I have lived experience. Here's what I know, and here are the things that no one fucking warned me about. Like, hey, if you switch all of your hormones around, one goes down before the other one comes up. Good luck being able to move for a week. No one warned me about that. I fell asleep like 20 times when I was at my day job. I was like... I was just dead to the world for like a week because I can't move, guys. Got literally no energy. Do this. I can't. Please do it for me. I'm helpless. Like I said, there's a lot of funny stories. I kind of took over that.
You had something you wanted to say, so it's fair.
Hey.
I can relax and just listen. Sometimes just having somebody just to listen is the most important thing to think for some people. So
yeah, definitely.
Not just people. So yeah.
Yeah. Like, I like to listen and try and just listen if I can. Sometimes you don't have. Sometimes giving advice isn't even something you should do. Like, sometimes just listening is all that is needed to be helpful. But I don't know. There's probably people who do that kind of podcast who are like better at it than I am, but. To circle it all the way back to what we were talking about, I think that would be my dream non-this podcast. Well, dream non-this and being a occasional guest on the Glorious Movie Show, which is second place to me. Because I get to talk about Star Trek. And how much
if it was a serious topic, like a serious topic instead of like wrestling or F1 or movies or anything like that, again, for me, I most probably be to talk about bullying. Bullying is a disgusting thing. I hate it. I consider it a cancer to this planet, to this world, which is just how hurtful people can be. Like, I to this day still haven't really recovered from what I went through as a teenager. For the 4 years I was bullied at my school. So, I would go through I would talk to someone like that about that and everything like that. And I've openly said, if anyone wants to talk to me about bullying, I'll always have to listen and everything like that. There are some dickheads out there.
Tremendous, yeah. Tremendously. Yeah. We talk about some of them on this podcast. Hey. There you go. So we've got a podcast about nothing. Podcast about trans stuff, a podcast about bullying, a podcast about wrestling, and a podcast about F1. So, should we just schedule a pilot season? No.
We could definitely do something.
I think we've got some ideas there. Like, Moody, I said it a few weeks ago, and I am just going to say it again, because this topic of conversation that we've hit upon, which unfortunately is going to have to end the show, is very relevant to what I said a few weeks ago. But you're like my favorite person to podcast with, who I've podcasted with, and I've podcasted with a few people at this point. And you're like the easiest person to just banter with. And considering I've known Keith for like 30 years, that's
a high bar.
That's high bar. That's high bar, and you jumped it. So, yeah. I think, yeah, I always think it's best to, like, if you've got something like praiseworthy to say, you should just say it. Like, And that goes for like anything. Like if you watch a podcast and you like it, say so. If you see a piece of art on Twitter and you think it's amazing, say so. Because I guarantee, like, you're not bothering the person who posted it. like,
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
like speaking from my personal experience, I get enough shitty comments that, like, I like the good ones. They're nice, even when they're bots. I still look and go, oh.
Like, even if you get any shitty ones, you just go like,
Oh, I know,
which one do I want to use?
my finger slipped. You got blocked. What a surprise. Anyway, that's going to have to do it for episode 217 of the Words About Games cast. No matter how many future podcast ideas we follow through on, though, you can find us every single Monday, sometimes Tuesday if YouTube's being a dick. We'll still be here. We'll still be talking about video games every week of the year, apart from 2 weeks for Christmas and New Year that we take off because there's no point in podcasting at those times, and we need a break sometimes. Get off my back. Anyway, while Moody shows you a slideshow of Bulbasaurs and Ivysaurs, I'm gonna say bye.
You're very generous. I'm holding this very tenderly right now. Yeah.
Actually, come to think of it, yeah. I also want to add something to the future podcast ideas really quickly. Of just the other one I would start would be a D&D podcast. That's gonna do it. Let's get out of here. Much love to everybody.
Return on 34, guys and ladies.